Do you love crystals and want to hear some real life stories? Videos like this will offer the stories, which will also help those who requested my favourite crystals, because my favourites usually involve an amazing experience for me or for a customer, rather than because they're unusually beautiful. As you hear these stories, know that you too over time will experience your own stories with your crystal friends. I've decided to lead off with the story of what I know to be the very first crystal that I actually purchased. And here it is. It is a natural clear quartz point from Brazil. It was bought in a shop at a time that I had just stepped onto the spiritual path, after 9 years of a dark night of the soul. And if you don't know what that is, it's that time of life when it seems so broken for you that you're unable to cope with anything. Every part of your life is spiraling out of control, you're depressed, and you possibly will want to exit the planet just to escape the pain. Psychologists had not helped. My exposure to religion had certainly, done the opposite of creating faith. At my lowest point, before I decided I was going to do the deed, I had a sense of taking one last chance, making one last effort to bring about change. And I went, well, it can just be the finale to a series of poor outcomes, but I'll do it. And what I did was I called out to say that if angels or guides really existed, to show me. I then actually allowed myself just to sit, to do nothing, and to wait to see what happened, what urges occurred, and I then followed those urges. And what happened next began my journey into faith, starting with getting amazing assistance from Buddhism for just a year, and then moving into the world of spiritualism. And that is another whole story. This video is specifically about what happened with me and the crystals. My first spiritualist teacher had lots and lots of crystals in the big room in which we meditated, learnt about our energy field, and practiced energy healing. We were allowed to hold them, and I was instantly fascinated with the crystals. I was forever going in the room and grabbing another one. I just noticed that I felt so much better around them. I needed to have my own. I even on some level sensed that they were a big part of my future, just not how. Nearby was a crystal shop, and off I went, thankfully with Gina, a woman who was very psychically able and very connected to crystals. She offered to teach me how to pick crystals. In the shop, I first felt I wanted to go over to the shelf of clear quartz. As I stood there, Gina said, "Pick one." So I picked the prettiest, the perfect one that I could see. And then she said, "How does that feel?" And interestingly, I immediately started commenting on everything wrong with it. Well, hello ego's judgment. She said, "Put it back. That's not your crystal. Look at what you just said. You commented on everything wrong with it. It's not yours." She this time invited me to set an intention that I was looking for the crystal for me, one that was right for me, which I did. And I then went, I want to go over and pick this one up. Look, it's smiling at me. I feel so happy with it. Gina then said, "Look at how positive your thoughts are. That one is yours." Now, as you can see, it's chipped. It's got a flat head rather than the very desirable points that people want. But without hesitation, I'd had such an amazing reaction to it, it went into the shopping basket. I can't even remember what other crystals I bought that day. At the time, I was certainly expecting to sell this one too. But as you can see, 18 years later, it and I are still happily together. And as a beginner, I also enjoyed naming my first dozen crystals. So no surprise, this one was called Happy. And I do love having it because it reminds me of that first moment of discovering how intuition worked, that I had some ability, that I could discover which crystals were right for me and which ones weren't by just listening at that time to the thoughts in my head. So why this crystal? Well, as I said, it's a natural point. You can see all the natural faces. It's got some lovely etching on the back end of it. It has a crystal growing out of it. There's even, I think, some crystals inside it. It's got rainbows. These are all good things for manifesting. And it also has some interesting growth lines. So all of that makes me realize that this one little crystal had all these possibilities in it, and that my life also could have lots of positive possibilities moving forward. And why did my first crystal need to be a clear quartz with a flat head? The fact was that on this new path, I was constantly being told by other energy workers around me that I was very ungrounded. Now, this meant that I was energetically up here in the head, constantly thinking, and unfortunately they were all bad thoughts, rather than actually coming out of my thoughts, out of my mental body, and coming back into my emotional body, into my physical body. And therefore I was certainly not connecting to the real world around me. It was going to take time for the bucket load of this mental and emotional baggage to come off me. Even with all of this amazing training I was taking, there's only so much you can shed at one time. But with the crystal, I can do it also when I wasn't with the teacher, when I wasn't sitting around doing a specific meditation. So among other assistance, the clear quartz was helping improve my thoughts so that I would start having a space of peace and a space that positive thoughts could come through, not the negative ones. And on top of that, I learned that the flat head helped the grounding process. So as I started having positive thoughts, I would be coming back into the body. As I started to find more peace in my head, I'd come down into the body. It was just helping cleanse. So now you know why this crystal is so important to me, what it taught me about my intuition, how I actually had some, and how I was interacting with the world, and how a crystal could really help shift things so much quicker than just doing one meditation or one aha moment around what was going on. If you liked hearing this crystal story, please like, share, subscribe, follow for more.